Star Wars has a lot of things that don't make sense, one of them being why Stormtroopers can't shoot straight. Luke Skywalker says in a line in A New Hope that explains why Stormtroopers can't aim or hit any of their targets. On that note, let's learn more about Star Wars explaining why Stormtroopers can't aim in A New Hope. We'll also look at Star Wars proving Stormtroopers are way scarier than fans realize. To start with, they've been made fun of for not having proper aim. Early on in Star Wars A New Hope, Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi come across a broken Jawa transport. Kenobi looks at the damage and tells Luke, "These blaster points are too precise for sand people." His comment suggests that Stormtroopers must be very accurate, which is a scary sign of the Empire's military power. This gives a picture of the Empire's forces being strong and dangerous. But we've seen over and over again in the Star Wars universe that this is not true. In A New Hope, Luke, Han, and Leia escape from a lot of Stormtroopers who can't shoot at them. In The Mandalorian, a Mandalorian armorer kills 5 Stormtroopers all by himself, and none of them even get a shot off. Then in The Force Awakens, Poe and Finn use the TIE fighter to get out of an Imperial hangar, and the Stormtroopers can't even shoot it down while it's docked. So it's pretty clear that Stormtroopers can't hit anything, no matter what it is. The horrible goal of Stormtroopers is so well known among Star Wars fans that it's become official. Kanan Jarrus says to Captain Rex in an episode of Star Wars Rebels, "Wow, you really do shoot like a Stormtrooper," even though Rex is a clone trooper. This definitely shows that we're not the only ones who think Stormtroopers are bad at shooting. Then we got Taika Waititi's episode of The Mandalorian 2, which was the best proof yet that Stormtroopers can't aim. Coming up, a theory on Reddit explains everything. Obi-Wan says that Stormtroopers are accurate, even though everyone in Star Wars knows they can't aim. So the real question is, why does he imply they're good? This may have been answered by a Reddit thread, which pointed out that Stormtroopers aren't made the same way as they used to be. Obi-Wan thinks of the clones he used to fight with when he thinks of Stormtroopers. To be fair, they genuinely had a lot of talent. But thanks to the sequels, we now know that most new Stormtroopers are regular people like Finn. If you really look into it, clones were made so that they wouldn't live as long as real people. Now there are no more clones. But the Empire needs an army, so they go out and find new soldiers. So it's understandable why, even though Stormtroopers are bad, Obi-Wan thought they weren't. It makes a lot of sense. In fact, during the Clone Wars, Obi-Wan fought with the army of clones that would later become the Stormtroopers for the Empire. They were a pretty good fighting force. They were, of course, clones of Jango Fett, who was known throughout the galaxy as one of the best shooters. As time went on, the Empire kidnapped children and forced them to fight as Stormtroopers in their army. One might think that these ways of getting people to join the Empire would make them much less skilled. With this explanation, this might no longer be a major plot hole in Star Wars. Lastly, Disney Star Wars makes Stormtroopers more accurately. Since Disney bought Star Wars, Stormtroopers have gotten better at aiming. Even though it's still not quite as good as the clones' aim, they've definitely gotten better. It's interesting that in the sequel trilogy, the Stormtrooper helmets are slightly changed, which, if you believe the helmet theory, means they can see their targets better and hit them more often. This is shown by the fact that Finn, a former Stormtrooper in the Star Wars sequels, was able to hit his targets easily when he was still in the First Order. It's always been a running joke that Stormtroopers can't hit anything, but there's a real reason for that. After decades of being made fun of by Star Wars fans and characters for their terrible aim, it's surprising and funny to find out that the reason why was there all along. Even though it was established in A New Hope, it's a small detail that occasionally reminds the audience that Stormtroopers aren't necessarily bad, they just can't see. Well, thank God Disney finally helped them see better. And now let's look at Star Wars proving Stormtroopers are way scarier than fans realize. First up, Stormtroopers shouldn't be taken lightly. We know that Stormtroopers are often thought of as never-ending cannon fodder in the Star Wars franchise, but that's not the case everywhere. In fact, a comic from the Legends era shows that they're actually a cruel and scary enemy of the Rebels and the regular people of the galaxy. Throughout the first 3 movies in the Star Wars series, Stormtroopers usually fight main characters, like Princess Leia or Han Solo. These characters usually beat them pretty easily and don't seem to be hurt by blaster bolts. This has made many viewers and even in-universe characters think that Stormtroopers are ridiculously bad at what they they do, even though they have a history of being brutal and killing people, which wasn't always true. Stormtroopers are the best soldiers that the Galactic Empire hires, both in the canon timeline after 2014 and in the Legends timeline. Even though the Republic's clone troopers are better at fighting, the Empire's Stormtroopers are still well-trained, well-equipped fighting force that does terrible things all over the galaxy without question. The less famous Imperial Army troops helped the Empire take over worlds, while the more famous Stormtroopers did more direct work for Emperor Palpatine and fought the Empire's most important battles. Up next, a comic book series gives an interesting insight. Despite what many people have seen in movies and TV shows, Stormtroopers are actually a group of brothers who fought together with no mercy. The 4-issue comic book series, Vader's Quest by Darker McCon and Dave Gibbons, shows one of these missions, the search for the pilot who destroyed the Death Star. In the second issue, a group of Stormtroopers finishes up their search on the Outer Rim world of Dubrava by tying up loose ends. After Stormtroopers kill a rebel sympathizer in a Dubravan bar, the customers start fighting back. This makes the Stormtroopers lock down the building, set it on fire with flamethrowers, and shoot anyone who tries to leave. That definitely doesn't sound too "they're so bad they can't even aim" of them, not gonna lie. The scene is one of the saddest in the Star Wars series, but it shows how cruel and ruthless Stormtroopers are when they're not fighting the heroes. If you think about it, when you look back at how easily characters like Luke Skywalker and Lando Calrissian beat Stormtroopers, we may forget that Imperial soldiers killed a group of elite rebel troopers on the Tantive 4 at the beginning of A New Hope. They also later killed Jawas and Luke's adoptive parents. In more recent Star Wars stories, Stormtroopers may be funny buffoons, but they were originally meant to be scary, faceless killers working for an oppressive fascist regime. Vader's Quest shows the brutality of the Stormtroopers directly, while A New Hope only shows the results of it. Finally, maybe they should be depicted as ruthless killers more. The first time we saw Stormtroopers in action was at the beginning of Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, when they killed all the rebel troopers on the Tantive 4. We would later see how they completely destroyed the Jawas, Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru, leaving only smoking ruins. So the first time we saw Stormtroopers, we thought they were actually pretty dangerous. After all, they were the best soldiers in the first battle we saw Death Star in. Naturally, the good guys had to win at the end, and because of the plot armor, the Rebel Alliance and the Resistance were destined to win. But the Star Wars saga keeps showing Stormtroopers as weak and easy to beat. Even in Star Wars Rebels and The Mandalorian, the Stormtroopers are outmatched and outwitted. Again, we know the fan base wants the Jedi, the Rebels, and Mando to win, but in the meantime, the Stormtroopers will continue to be brutal and kill innocent civilians and victims off screen. But honestly, this hurts their reputation as dangerous enemies of the Rebels. The problem with bad guys who can't be deadly is that the heroes don't feel like they're in danger when they're fighting them. If more Star Wars stories allowed Stormtroopers to be as scary as Vader's Quest does, their defeat by the heroes of the Rebel Alliance would have a lot more meaning. We might get to see more of these moments since there are many more Star Wars projects coming to both the Disney Plus streaming service and theaters. That's a wrap for this video. What do you think about the Stormtroopers always having bad aim? Do you think they should be given a more evil character? Let us know in the comments below. Also, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like these. See you in the next one.